Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we're checking out the PMP User 2 in S90V. Now this is a super simple, super sleek, very clean knife. Comes with a really cool packaging, this leather zipper pouch with nice felt on the inside. Really cool packaging. Now, the knife itself, we have a titanium frame lock. Very thin, slim, and lightweight. It's not short though. It's still a full-size knife. S90V drop point blade. Slight bit of recurve here in the belly, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. It's not a problem. But one thing I really love and appreciate about the knife is this lock bar access. They punched out the lock bar a little bit in order to, instead of making a cutout, they just added to the frame lock side, I guess, and made it to where it's really easy to disengage this knife. Very, very smooth. And the way the knife is in the handle, it leaves quite a bit out. And in this case, this is the coated version. They do have a non-coated version. You can easily reverse flick it. Now, I first seen this on Stasa23's channel, so shout out to Stasa23. Definitely go and subscribe to his channel. I saw it on there and I said, man, I've never seen that before, and I had to go and check it out. Now, it has front flipping action, and it has good quality jimping that goes up and all the way around. Now, I have to say this is the coated version, so I do think that my jimping might possibly be just a little bit more slick, I guess you could say, but it's not slick because the jimping's good. It's nice and grabby, but I'm just imagining, I haven't tried it, but I imagine the non-coated version might be just a tiny bit sharper on the jimping than the coated version. Sometimes the coating can add a little bit of slickness to it. However, the jimping's done very well, so very easy to front flip this. You can get it right from the front, like that, or you can go right on top and kind of push down and do like the Bic lighter thing. And it's also very easy to do the reach over, which actually is probably my favorite way to front flip this, is just like that. So that works very well. And then the reverse flick off of the blade, which it works great. The hardware is a light blue color that looks really, really good. It makes it pop. The drop on, it's very smooth. It is riding on ceramic caged bearings. Very, very smooth on the drop. We do have a wire clip. A little bit of a wonky clip, I have to say. I'm not a big fan of the clip. We'll talk more about this here in just one second. But the knife has very neutral ergos. And even with this little cut punch out on the lock bar, I don't hold it right here, and if I did, it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but they give you a spot right here where you do put your finger, and you kind of put this little piece right between the two fingers, and it's very comfortable. It's going to work great in the pinch grips, reverse grips. It's a light-duty user, so yeah, very comfortable in the hand considering the geometry and what the intended purpose is, with light-duty use, with also having a little bit of style because it looks good. Now, you can slow roll this thing all the way around, but when you get to this point right here, you do kind of want to snap it in. If you go too slow, it might not catch. Mine's catching pretty good, actually, so I take that back. It catches pretty good. Yeah. So you can slow roll it around if you want to, without a problem. Now, let me talk about a couple of my issues. One, it's not centered. Now, I could probably get it centered, but I haven't really messed with it. So it come off of centering pretty quickly after me getting it. I think it was centered right out of the box, but it quickly came off of center. The next thing, and this isn't a problem, this is just me making a statement. These are not torque bit heads, these are hex. So the hardware is a hex head. I found out because I went to put my T8 in the pivot and it spun. I was like, what is going on? And then I found out, yep, it's a hexagon head. So if you want to take it apart, you're not going to be able to do it with the torque bits without, messing some things up. Not a big deal, just is what it is. So you want to use hex heads or hex bits. Next is the clip. The clip is like this side of the arm is down into the lock bar cutout. So it's like, you see how it's like kind of wonky? It's kind of weird, right? And, you know, it works going in the pocket really good, but then when you go to take it back out, it kind of catches this little corner because they put this arm right inside that hole. This should be on the outside or, you know, behind this cutout. This ramp area should be right here or over it, not directly in it. Does it work good? Yeah, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think it's a pocket destroyer or anything like that. It's more of an annoyance than anything. You know, like I said, going in the pocket, it's great. It's just pulling out, you can kind of feel it, that little hiccup right there where it kind of, you know, pulls a little tighter right there. Not that big of a deal. And in the hand, it's not too uncomfortable. Just the size of it and the slimness, it's not, you know, it's not protruding in any way that really hurts me, even though it looks like it would. Now, pulling it in and out of the pocket, you know, this is, you know, not sharp, but, you know, it's a little annoying, I guess, you know, just, you know, holding it like this, putting it in and out of the pocket. It's not very comfortable doing that, but it's also not that big of a deal. And, you know, that's just how wire clips are. I keep getting a little hint of lock stick because of the oil that's coming out of the pivot. Now, that's not a big deal, and I'm not saying that's a negative thing. I just have to make sure my lock face is dry. Once all the pivot kind of dries up, it'll stop doing it. But I do notice that it continues to come back a little bit once the oil touches the lock face again. So you got to keep that lock face nice and dry, which is pretty common on most knives. But all in all, oh yeah, the blade, sorry. We gotta go over this blade. So I do not know how well they're doing this S90V. I have not tested it yet, so that is to be determined. The sharpening tool and plunge grind, I do not like. Look at the plunge grind. The plunge grind hits the edge. That's not good, especially on a coated blade. Now, the next thing, which I do consider a real negative, because this wouldn't be too big of a deal to me as long as I could fix it. But they put the stop pin right behind the edge, making it to where if I wanted to cut this out right here, I couldn't do it. Now, what I could do is I could just take a Dremel and just put, or a file, and just put a little notch right there without hurting anything. So I still do have the ability to add a notch. Now with a coated blade and coated handle and everything, it might not look that good adding a notch because it will take off the coating, but if I did it right, you would only notice it from this direction, not from the side. So it might not look bad at all if I add a little notch there, which in return would stop me from hitting my plunge grind and making a smile, which would look ugly on a coated knife. On the non-coated one, you know, it might be even better because you could add a notch and really not affect the looks in any way or the coating. But if you're careful, you can do it with this one too. But I do want to make it clear, the stop pin is landing right here, not directly behind the edge. So I could still cut something out right there, but I'd have to be careful not to cut back into here because that is right where the stop pin lands. So just have to be careful with it. And that's, you know, if I wanted to do that, you know, this thing does have S90V, so it should have really good edge retention. You know, if you're using this the way it's kind of intended as a light duty EDC knife, you know, you just use for cutting here and there, your edge retention should last a very long time before it needs, you know, its first edge. And then if you do like to sharpen up your knives right away, you know, once you put a good quality edge on there, you know, it should be a little while till you need a secondary edge, which the first edge would probably give you a little smile, but if you're careful, you could avoid that. But on the second sharpening, that's where it's going to start becoming a little bit more difficult, especially if you lower back your angle. But, you know, like I said, though, you could always just easily add a little notch right there. Not a big deal. Just for a quick size comparison to show you about the size of it, we'll show a couple other clean looking designs or knives. Here's the Quiet Carry Waypoint, basically the exact same size, very similar dimensions. Then we have the Keen, the KAVISO, Ray Laconico KAVISO Keen, the new version. There is another new version coming. that you guys will be seeing here very, very soon. But a little bit bigger than the PMP. And here is the Elementum button lock. You can see that's quite a bit bigger, or quite a bit longer. The dimensions are similar, but quite a bit longer. But yeah, the Hogue Deca, perfect size comparison. About the size of a Hogue Deca Benchmade bug out. So good size, full size, relatively full size knife without being too big. But you know, super light duty and very simple and, you know, easy. It's a very clean design that's, you know, it's attractive. Not too much, not too over the board, and you know, it just works. Now that slight bit of recurve, I said we'd talk about that. That can easily be sharpened out. One, it's not really even a recurve, it's just where they did the plunge grind. This punches down just a little bit farther than right here. So it gives you the illusion of a recurve when it's really not. So when you go to sharpen it, you can sharpen that out with one good sharpening, or, you know, just leave it the way it is. Just want to make sure that you don't sharpen it and make it recurve over time, because that can happen. But it is nice and thin, relatively thin behind the edge. Not super thin. I'll measure it really quick because I do like this knife quite a bit. I love the look of it. About 19 thousandths. So about 19 thousandths behind the edge. So not super thin, not super thick. Just fine. Good thickness. It's going to pass through materials just fine. And I like the way it looks. I think it's clean, simple. You know, it's an attractive knife. I do have, you know, a couple little complaints a little bit, but nothing that's stopping me from enjoying it. I did pick this up from White Mountain Knives. You can save 10% off with my discount code Neeves Knives. So yeah, but I'm not sure if you can get it anywhere else. But anyways, there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.